Hello, hello, hello. I am excited to do episode 60 with you today. And I think that this episode title that works with lesson 21 from A Course in Miracles, I am determined to see things differently. I think this could be a talk or a sharing or a connection with almost any person who is living some sort of a conscious life. They might not even be a spiritual life. It might be a conscious spiritual life. I believe everybody is spirit and everybody has a spirit and everybody is living from spirit, but not everybody acknowledges that. But if you had two jobs and some kids at home and bills to pay, and you know where I'm going, a really tough life as far as external characteristics or external factors. And let's say you were angry. If you were living a conscious life, I would say you would be trying to find ways to be less angry for your children, for your co-mates, and for yourself. Because when we're angry, yes, it's a big feeling, and it feels more entitled and more safe in a way for many people, not everyone. Some people are scared to death when they're angry and they hide from it because they're afraid it will be rage and they've seen too much rage. But for most of us, fear is a smaller feeling. You feel little, you feel vulnerable, you feel scared, you feel, some people feel weak when they're afraid. But when you feel angry, you feel entitled, you feel righteous, you feel right. So it's a bigger feeling. And for many of us, when we have resentments or judgments, that's what the Course is showing us. We're hiding. We're hiding anger. And I love the sentence. I'm going to paraphrase it rather than look for the exact words. But when the Course says, don't worry if it's a little feeling versus a big feeling, because a little feeling is just a big feeling covered up. In other words, I love that the Course doesn't care if it's a feeling on a continuum rather than the big one. So in lesson 21, the Course is having us look probably for one of the earliest times at our attack thoughts. And one of the reasons I'm picking this lesson today is A, the focus on seeing things differently, and B, the focus on feelings. And anger is a good one to look at because it's so big. It's a little hard to talk about some of the others. The Course does a good job talking about fear and pretty good job talking about guilt. It was a great job in the days that it came out, but we now know that shame or imagined unworthiness, as I call it, really speaks to some part of what the Course calls guilt, because that was not yet a psychological term. And the Course was talking to Helen Schuckman and her psychological partner, and they were both psychologists, so they wanted to the message was in psychological terms. I've said this before, but I'm repeating it today in case you didn't catch that episode. What I'm bringing today, and I may be repeating it very often because it's a really big deal in my life. It's almost my new mantra. Want to hear it? If thoughts and feelings were truth, we would call them facts. So it's very, very important. We base so much idolatry, so much belief, so much confidence in our thoughts and feelings. It's the big bugaboo when the Course says we're not a separate person. We say, but I feel like one, as though that's the proof. Yes, it's an impediment because we feel one way, but thoughts and feelings come and go, and you are still here. So you cannot be that thought and feeling. It is something else. It is something that you can observe, like the weather. Not any different, not any more valid. You are not the weather. You say, I am depressed, I am angry, I am scared, I am whatever. We don't say I am rain and it's raining out. It really is the same. But let's go to see what the lesson says. Let's see here. I'm going to quote what the Course says here. The anger may take the form of, so they're going to have us focus on anger. The anger may take the form of any reaction, ranging from mild irritation to rage. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. Isn't that amazing? It's so brilliant. Try, therefore, not to let the little thoughts of anger escape you in the practice periods. Remember that you do not really recognize what arouses anger in you, and nothing that you believe in this connection means anything. I'm going to say it again. Remember that you do not really recognize what arouses anger in you, and nothing that you believe in this connection means anything. You will probably be tempted to dwell more on some situations, on persons, than on others, on the fallacious grounds that they are more obvious. In other words, you can see why it's somebody's fault, can't you? They deserve my anger. Look at what they did to me, right? This is not so. It is merely an example of the belief that some forms of attack are more justified than others. Okay, so I'm going to take a little break from this lesson and go back to if thoughts and feelings were truth, they would be called facts. So when we have anger or any other feeling, we could look at it another way. We could look at it as though we are putting our attention on a feeling, right? Instead of saying, I feel this way, or I am angry, we could say, anger has happened, or I am focusing on a feeling or the feeling of anger, not calling it my. When you know you are not what you are paying attention to, you are something separate, different. You are not the anger. You can't be, remember, because the feelings come and go. A minute ago, you had pride. A minute before that, you were scared. So those feelings and those thoughts are different from the being of you. We have not come to terms with what we are. We're still in the hypnosis of believing we're separate, solid bodies. Some of us are lucky enough to have glimpses and moments during the day when we know we are one with the one. We're not even a solid body. We're not even a separate person. We are an embodiment. We have a body. But what are we? That is really still a question for most people. Some people will spout A Course in Miracles answer, but are they living from that truth? If they're getting angry at you or someone else, then they've forgotten, at least for that moment. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. You could be totally knowing the oneness, and someone asks you to join a hurtful campaign. You say no. And then they say, well, da 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 da. And then you raise your voice to stop them. I think what I was trying to say there, what was coming through me that wanted a little more definition and delineation, is that when we take things personally, then we've forgotten. But we can be angry. I could say to this person who was trying to make me, with their words or with their bullying to join their whatever, I could say no in an angry voice. Stop. But the minute we start feeling things personally, that's when we've forgotten. But one could definitely raise the voice just like Jesus did. Say, absolutely no. Stop. Leave my house. And still know that you are the one self united with your Creator. You and I are one with the one. So I hope you understood there exactly where I was going. That was kind of fun to say something and then take it back. Now, this separate person, this personal self, if you're listening to this, you've been a seeker. And if you're a seeker, that means that you believe you have not found it. You believe you're not it. Finding it is not outside. Everything, almost every spiritual lane has some element of go back inside to find the God you've been looking for outside. The kingdom of is within. That's a famous expression from Christianity. Course in Miracles says enlightenment has always been with us. It's just a matter of taking off the veil that has your freedom, my freedom, our freedom, hidden in plain sight. When we're seeking, it assumes we are not already it. St. Francis of Assisi says, what you are seeking for is where you are seeking from, is what you are seeking from. It's been said both ways. Some people question whether it was St. Francis because he was a Catholic, and that it isn't usually Catholic dogma, Catholic principle, that it's all inside you. But other people say it was Rumi, but that's a big difference. And it's most often attributed to St. Francis. So where are we going with this? If the lesson is, I am determined to see things differently, let's use anger like this lesson suggests. The non-dual would have us notice we're angry, that anger has happened. Notice we're not what is being observed. Make that point that there's an observer observing the anger, the apparent anger. It's apparent because we want to put some distance. It was happening a second before, but if it was a 10 a second before, by the time I'm even looking at it and talking about it, it probably is not still a 10, because all feelings are energy in motion. Motion, they're an energy. They cannot stay. We're so afraid of them. If I get into this, I'll get buried. I'll never come out. That's a child speaking of what felt too much when we were little. We know that feelings cannot stay, even the ecstatic ones, even the happy ones, cannot stay at the same level. And in prior talks, I've quoted the science that says in 90 seconds, you'll get a new one. So let's go into meditation a moment and think of the last time you were angry. Where did you feel it? Did you feel it in your chest? Did you feel it in your throat? And what is it that knows you were feeling angry. We don't know what that is. It's not solid. It's not a certain place. Some people think the observer is in their brain because they're used to thinking of themselves in their brain. But you can't be what changes because you're still here. So you have to be something other than that feeling that just came. What if you were something not solid, something like the water that flows all the way through your body? Let's join that now. Flowing, moving, observing, observing that you're now calmer. And yet, even calmer isn't what you are. We keep looking for a solid being, and that's why we don't find what we are. We are possibly, can you consider possibly that you are what God is? Not an old man in the sky with a gray beard, but something fluid, something omnipresent, means everywhere, omni-active, active everywhere, never going to sleep, always present. Now you, the body, go to sleep, and there is awareness even in your sleep. Most of us don't wet the bed because awareness wakes us up if we need to use the bathroom. Awareness is aware of our dreams. Some of us remember them, some don't. But there is a knowing of the story that you're dreaming, at least while you're dreaming it. Let's just take a breath into this flow. It's not water, but it's like water. And what if flow takes us even outside of our bodies? That the flow, the energy of what we are, mixes even with the air, even with the cars if you're walking outside, and the people and the plants and the trees. There are no limits, no barriers to what you are and what God is. Another word for God is possibility. Another word for you is possibility, potential. I am determined to see things differently. If that were true, what if this is what you are? Not limited to the body, not limited to time and space, currently residing in a certain shape, but only temporarily. What if you are not a person? Yes, you have a body. Yes, you have a personality. Both of those change. Personality is made up of thoughts and feelings. Those change. We think the personality matures, but only a little. We do it as adults appear different as than children. So we usually don't grab each other's toys unless somebody is going to call the police. But we grab countries, we grab politics, we grab human rights. We have adult ways to play the same games we played as children. Mine. Those are the limited behaviors of the movie of our lives. And we can intersect in that movie without believing everything to be about a person. Why limit ourselves? Are you determined to see things differently? What if enlightenment is just this? Connected up to the all-knowing. I can see peace instead of what you were feeling earlier. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. If thoughts and feelings were truth, they would be called facts. I invite you to take that as your mantra as well. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.